Now today's project is going to be relatively complex. Just to back up here a little bit, we took the fairing already and replaced some of the and repaired some of the tabs, some of the things that hold this together. And what we have is a part that is not broken. And actually it's the part that wasn't broken that needed to have some carbon fiber tabs made. That's all on part one of this BENELLI repair. We had some of these pieces, I guess that's the last one. Anyway, we had those pieces to repair, but there's a big chunk missing up here. You can see that piece missing. So this is a relatively complex thing to work on. We also have, we're going to work on this part today. This piece in here has to be filled. We're going to try to fill that. And we also have to remove, the biggest part of the day is going to be to remove this decal with removing as little of the plastic as possible. Now, I don't want to put paint remover on. This is a plastic fairing, and you can open up every kind of problem in the world when you go down to the plastic, from the paint not binding to the plastic melting. But this itself will be a big job. I hope to get it done today. I have this part that I can mimic what that part looks like, and that'll be, well, I'm going to try a way that I've used in the past. But I also have several other ways that if that doesn't work, and of course we always have that where we got to invent it as we go along, and it's always an adventure. Now the first part of this is going to be an ordinary piece of scrap balsa wood. I want to make a pattern here, and I want to start with, and this looks easier than it really is to get this right. I want to basically trace this out. And this is going to be, actually this is going to be the pattern. This piece is going to get removed. So now what this pattern is going to give us that shape right there. Now you may be thinking, well, hey, we got a piece missing. We could just put a piece in here and join and butt join it. Well, that's not a good way to do it. The best way to do it is to put a piece underneath like a furniture joint. So what I'm going to do is make a backer piece. The first thing is a backer piece out of wood. And let me show how I do this. It could be that someday you'll have to repair a part like this and you'll know how to do it. Before we do anything, we got to clean this part out and roughen it up. Since somebody has already repaired this, I don't know how their repair is going to bond when I put my repair on top. So I'll ensure that I can do it as best I can. And I'm going to have to really reinforce this, because I know this is a part of the bike that when you're going down a track 100 and whatever miles an hour, there's a lot of force on this. This is not a cosmetic thing like a, you know, something that's not going to take. And by the way, this is a good trick when you want to get in some tight area. An old paint stick, just wrap the sand. I showed Glenn this the other day. He was using it on his project. But before you do any kind of repair, you got to scuff it up. You can't do much until you get it scuffed up. And once it's scuffed up, then you have a chance of getting it to fit. Now we have our pattern. I just need to see what shape piece of wood I need to make to get that piece in there. Let's see. We're gonna just, the first thing is I need to get this piece. Let me use this stick as, if I just butt join these two together, if I just make a piece to that shape out of carbon fiber and glue it in there, definitely gonna break. What I need to do is make the equivalent of a dovetail joint, is get a piece back here so that this joint is like a step, like a furniture joint, and that'll make it really, it'll make it like well, you go look at a dovetail anyway. It'll give us a lot more gluing area to put the carbon fiber, because this whole thing has got to be reinforced with carbon fiber before we go any further. Now, in going through my box of scrap here, and I was looking for a part that would be pretty much the right size and get me close to what I need. And it looks like I've got a nice piece here that'll fit real good. So what I need to do is, I want to make this a little bit longer here. Up here, can go plenty far back. And I'll just leave it oversized, but I'm just going to tack glue this into position next. So what I have to do now, I've got this piece just roughly trimmed and it's oversized. I need to get some thick Brodax CA. This is what we use for all these fairing repairs. Get enough on here that I get a good bond. Doesn't have to be permanent. We're going to fill this all in. But this is just going to be our backer plate for the repair. This is going to give us the dimension that we need. I can use some kicker on this for sure. Get one side to kick down. Again, this isn't adding anything right now except giving us a place to lay the carbon fiber. And you really, if you've ever tried to do this in what I call mid-air, good luck. And good luck if you don't do a furniture joint. That's almost just an accident waiting to happen. Alright, we're going to give that 30 seconds to kick off. And once that piece is solidly glued in place, again I'm roughening it up because I want to get a good bond when I do the carbon fiber part of this repair. And carbon fiber is not going to stick to anything that's not roughed up a little bit. This is 180 grit sandpaper. This is that industrial sandpaper that has a very stiff backing, so it's very nice for getting in these corners and edges and this type of thing, this type of a repair. So this part now we have the backing done. So now we can, let me just move this. Whoa! Earthquake, earthquake. Now we have it from this side, and I've already glued this back with the CA. So this piece is permanently attached now and gives us a good backing for making all of that material that has to go in there. Now I've got my piece here, that pattern that I made. And again, this is just to rough it out. This will give me that shape once I get this in place. And what I'll do for now is I'll leave everything a little bit oversized, because then at the end, what I'm going to be able to do is get back in here and I can get this, make another a really accurate pattern and make sure these are exactly the same. So I'll leave maybe a 1/64 of an inch on there. I know this, well, we can cut the hole out later. I don't care about the hole. Right now, that's easy. I can get some material in there and get this started. What I have to do is build up the thickness here with obviously carbon fiber material. Now the rest of this is pretty, I say cut and dry. We're going to build up this material. Using some scraps of carbon fiber. This will probably need 6, 8, 10 layers, I don't know. As soon as we find out how many layers it needs, we just build up more until we reach the thickness that we need. I'll let that kick off by itself, and we'll add another layer, and I'll trim each one, so each time I see it, I can see the thickness building up, so I can basically sand and carve that area right back into it when I'm done. And carbon fiber, by the way, sands beautifully compared to e-glass. Now another little tip, you don't need to cut carbon fiber. You sand the edge, because it's hard with e-glass. It makes for a nice bond. Now up here we have the same thing. And you can see now I got to do this again about 6, 7 times. I'm going to build up material, but it's going to be solid carbon fiber. If you try to do something like this with Bondo, you better hope you never see the customer again. You better hope he doesn't have a gun either. Now, this is the right way to do it. And assuming Vlad doesn't have any drop-offs with the bike, drop it or crash it or whatever, this should be perfect. It's very time-consuming to do all these steps, but it's like fine wine. Fine wine doesn't jump off the grape arbor. You got to do it. Okay, that gives us the end of that. Okay, in this step, I want to use the thickness of the marker as how much bigger than the stock part I want to make it. See, so what I'm going to do is leave that on. I'm going to trim this off. I want to leave that amount of material on, and then at the very end, I'll make this pattern with sandpaper very accurate to the other one, and then I can get them both exactly the same. But you can see now I've got a nice strong joint in here and here. All I really need to do now, and I've got it like a dovetail back here. All I need to do is build up that material. Now, doing this kind of stuff is a difficult, time-consuming thing, but you think of what we've done. We've saved a very expensive part. These parts are not cheap. These are not, you know, and sometimes you can't even get them with the older bikes. And now, using some more 180 grit, I can sand right down to that line. That'll give me just enough, and this is carbon fiber. When it's done with CA, shapes up beautifully. I can get my... And I'll have to do this with each time I add a layer to maintain this shape. It's just easier to do it one layer at a time. And I'll show you one of the reasons. I'll show you a trick that I learned in making a lot of composite parts over the years. Now once I get that part there, I don't need to worry about this all getting sanded down now. I need to get more and more layers of carbon fiber in there. Obviously we can, at some point in time, it's not fancy how we have to do it, and that's why we save all the scraps. But what it means is our part is solid carbon fiber. There's no Bondo. I don't know why I hate Bondo. Anyway, take some more CA. From this point on, it's kind of cut and dry and redundant. It's over and over. This step that I'm showing right now, we're going to do several times. I'm estimating by looking at the thickness of that part, it's going to be about 6 times to do this. And then we're going to make it a little bit bigger than it has to be, so that we can sand it down and kind of mirror image it off the good part that Vlad provided here. Now if we didn't have that, we'd have to be working off pictures and stuff. Might be a little bit more intense. I'm putting some thin on there just to get a capillary bond. This is where it starts to stink. Again, now if you just follow through with this last step, and you realize I'm going to do it several times, I'm guessing 6, I will have built up the thickness without using any Bondo at all. Now once that's, let me show another trick here. One second. I showed Glenn this. When you don't want to use kicker, you can use a paper towel or a Q-tip. The dust in the paper towel or the Q-tip will, and as you feel it, it's starting to get sticky. You know it's kicking off. In this case, we're not having a race to up Mount Everest or anything here, so we like it to kick off slow. Because I wanted to show this final little trick. Now see, e-glass doesn't usually do this. E-glass leaves threads and string and everything in between. You can't get a nice, neat edge like that. And that's why we leave it just a little bit oversized, so we can do this operation. And you actually letting the 180 grit sandpaper do the cutting. Bingo bongo. This part, CA hasn't kicked off yet, but you get the general idea. This will trim up pretty quickly. Sometimes you only have to see this once and you go, hey. You kind of think of other things you can fix. And when you're doing old bikes like we are constantly, these Marks, old NS, you're not going to the store, you're not going to Motorcycle Mall and buying those parts. And unless you have deep pockets, you're probably not going to buy them. But repairing them, when you have the ability to repair them, you can do it for a lot less money. And if you do it this way, that carbon fiber is going to be a lot stronger than it is up here. It's double the strength. Now, we have to do that operation that I just showed several times till we build up to this thickness. And then we'll be able to block sand this right in. And I don't need to run the camera. You're probably bored already anyway, but I'll build that thickness up the same way I did with that. So the next step is I just rough cut that with a Dremel tool, just roughly. It's a little bit undersized because I'll make a pattern at the very end and I'll put the final kiss of death on it. But you can see we've gone through about 7 layers so far. We still need to build up this edge and this a little bit more. I'm thinking we're going to go for maybe 10 layers here. And this has consumed the better part of a day now. Now we got the front part almost done. We just need to do a little cosmetic blending. One of the things we need to do though, before I go on to the next step, because I'm going to be putting a lot of pressure on this sanding it, I want to get some CA down in here. This is going to complement the bond that we already have to the other side, and then it's going to be a question of shaping it. I'm hoping I don't have to use any Bondo, but if I have to use a little bit, because we have a kind of a wavy contour here we have to mimic. Well, let's see if we can do that. But the main thing is that this doesn't crack again. This is to go through all this work. I mean, we've got a lot of hours into this. I don't want this to ever crack. And as you probably, I'm sure you know, carbon fiber is incredibly strong. It's messy to work with. It's hard to sand sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't behave. But in the end, you've got Boeing. You've got something good. You don't have Bondo and the California custom car guys with their Bondo. And I'm not saying that's a negative thing, but boy, I have seen some, down at our cruise nut, I have seen some beautiful, beautiful cars with a Bondo crack right in the middle of them. And I think, how do you even fix that? There's no, especially vets. Old spider crack vets. Come on, Wendy, get with the program. But as anything in life, and I'm a believer in this, anything worth having in life, if it was easy, everybody'd have it. You got to put a little effort into some things. And most people that have worked in the shop or shared time with me know it's much easier, or I'm much happier paying the price right up front than hoping I don't get a crack a year from now. While Vlad's riding on track day and half of the fairing comes off and hits somebody in the head. Especially if it's me. Anyway, we've put the better part of a day into this project, and we still have a couple of repairs to do in it. I don't think we're going to have time to finish it today. We're going to finish as much as we can, but again, I don't want to compromise anything. I don't want to have that where you rush through something and then you're going to bed at night and you're thinking, is that going to crack? Now, in putting the final touches on this repair, this is a good little tip. Have a couple little bottles or jars or dowels, because I want to create that shape. And I left this oversized, but now I can mimic it. I can just go down, put my template on it, see that I've made it a good match to the other side. What's really good here too sometimes is a roll of sticky back sandpaper. Gives you the same effect, but we want to get that edge in there. Now I tried to repair this, the part that you might see from the other side of the bike. I tried to repair this as good as I can cosmetically, but the part that you don't see I'm not going to spend any time on. This you may see while you're riding the bike, and of course we'll paint in here. So now we just need to cut that hole out again and then finalize the other side. Now another handy little tool. I have the industrial sandpaper and anything that's round, a dowel. In this case, it's the diameter that worked for me was, it just happened to be this little jeweler's hammer. And I can get in here and get this pretty much equal to what the other one was. Again, I have a pattern for this, so I can get it pretty close anyway. Now the final part, I don't know how you could even describe that. That just was about as perfect as possible. The main thing is I know it's nice and strong. It's not going to be a problem because it's carbon fibered on both sides. I wanted to show it against a white background so you could see. And Vlad knows all the repairs I do. They're just super heavy duty. Because the number one thing, now even this part that cracked up here, I repaired that and I reinforced it from the back. But that is all we're going to be able to get done today. And the next time I get to work on this, and I never know when it is because we still have a lot of jobs here in the shop. And we still have to work on Glenn's stuff. We still have to work on this. We still have a lot of stuff to do. And I don't know if this is part of the BENELLI fender here. And I got Mark's stuff here. So we still have stuff to do. But the BENELLI, I'm glad I got a day in on a BENELLI. Real happy the way that worked out. And I hope it's been entertaining and informative for you to share. So thanks for watching.